CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lamp.
Irrigation New Zealand have not missed a beat, though, in calling for a national water strategy ahead of the election. And joining us is the chair of Irrigation New Zealand, Andrew Mockford. Andrew, thank you so much for coming onto the show and talking to this. For our audience, can you give us a bit of an overview of yourself and your role and how long you've been in the chair position?
Certainly, yeah. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come and talk with you both. Obviously, water is critical to New Zealand's future. So in my day job, I'm a chief executive of an irrigation scheme in Canterbury. So that's 52,000 hectares of irrigated land, the MHV Water scheme. And I've been on the board of Irrigation New Zealand for coming up 3 years now, and just under 1 year as the chair of that board, taking over from Kerry Johnson. So I guess what we do as an organisation is do a lot of advocacy on behalf of the sector, and that's everything from the irrigation schemes all the way through to the service sectors that are providing all of the on-the-ground skills to make sure that water gets to where it needs to be at the right times and the right volumes.
You've just launched your 2026 election manifesto. What are you asking for? What's Irrigation New Zealand looking for out of the next government? And we don't know which government's going to be, right? So out of the next government.
Absolutely. So we're looking for coordination, effectively. Is the infrastructure that will enable water to be captured when it's plentiful and then used from those storage reservoirs when it's scarce. This is all long-lived infrastructure. So when we build infrastructure, it's going to be around for 50 to 100 years. So we need to make sure that the likes of the RMA replacement legislation gives effect to that really long-lived infrastructure, like similar to a road or similar to bridges. Like we're building these pieces of infrastructure to support New Zealand Inc. in the long term. So we need to make sure that the legislation supports that, and that we're not having to relitigate the value of that infrastructure every 10 years. We want the government to get joined up as well. So there's a lot of different, departments and ministries within the government that all have a little bit to play within the water space. And look, it's been great to see the likes of Mike Butterick get the associate agriculture role with water and water storage as part of that. But we want to make sure that is fully joined up across all of government. And then underpinning all of that is we need to make sure that we have the workforce and the skills to be able to support this industry going forward. So through a little bit of workforce development and planning to make sure that we've got the skills to really underpin the value that water provides to New Zealand Inc.
Mm-hmm. We just had Shane Jones on talking about investment in that Crown irrigation investment entity that used to exist under the Key government, I believe it was. How fundamental is that funding? And obviously, with MHV, it's a long, big project to underwrite.
They certainly are, and at the early stages of a scheme being developed, there's a lot of risk there as to whether this is actually viable, and it can be hard to find the capital to do that pre-work, and we think that's where the government can come in with an element of assisting to really understand whether that scheme is viable or not, and sort of de-risk it at that early sort of stage. So again, with that government coordination, we're looking for that capital to underpin that. And also too for New Zealand is we've got, let's say there's a dozen schemes that have got potential across New Zealand. We're also looking for government to try and aggregate those into a sort of a portfolio of work, so that we're not trying to do things 12 different ways, trying to find capital 12 different ways. It's very, very similar. So how can we as a country make that a much more streamlined series of work?
One of the issues with irrigation, and interesting what you were talking about before about the different types of scheme, is actually there an education thing for the wider New Zealand public to explain that irrigation isn't necessarily a great big dam somewhere? Do you think people misunderstand what irrigation actually is and how it can work?
I think it is. I think when I look at the value that irrigation and water storage provides to New Zealand, it's taken for granted, and I think we've got to really raise the profile of how important water is. Like you had Mike Casey on here just before me, and water and energy are absolutely critical to underpin the rural economy and the New Zealand's economy. So I think it has been taken for granted, and when we've got the ability to capture water, there's so many multiple uses for it. So it's not just building a massive structure sitting back and that's just for irrigation. Like there are so many aspects to it, whether that's hydropower, whether that's aquifer recharge, whether that's recreation. There's so many things.
And it needs to, I really thought it was a missed opportunity when we had 3 waters. It should have been 4 waters. It should have brought into the urban part of the catchments. So therefore everybody understands they are, whether they're urban or rural, all off. We live together collectively off one catchment. And I think there's a piece there that's missing.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to do a better job to make sure that that education piece is there, so everybody understands that the value of what that water underpins. A lot of the time, some of our infrastructure is in the back blocks, or you'll have pipes in the ground, so it's easier to drive over these things and you just don't see them there. It's just happening. The grass is growing, the crops are growing, the grapes are growing, and you just miss all of the infrastructure that enables that to happen.
Yeah, too many people just drive around and they just see a big centre pivot irrigator and the water going onto a grass paddock without realising what that actually means. I mean, the Waimea scheme, you just mentioned it, is a really good, the Waimea Dam is a really good example of, it's actually a water augmentation for that river as well. Like it protects the flow of that river.
Yes.
And that flora and fauna that feeds off that river, which is a lot of opponents of those sort of schemes just don't have any concept of that.
Exactly right. And the benefits of that Waimea, like I believe with that the river that was running through, you're starting to see the salinity creep in from the estuary environment. And now with that river having a much better, more charged aquifer, it's continuing to push that back out and maintain wells and their reliability.
And climate change, of course. Like we need to future-proof our infrastructure, our society, our way of life. And so water storage has got to be the way. We have plenty of water, it's just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Absolutely, and that's part of the rhetoric we're trying to change, is that we're not a water-scarce country. We just get it in the wrong places at the wrong times. So to build the infrastructure to be able to protect, like when you look at some of the climate change predictions for the likes of Hawke's Bay, it doesn't look great in terms of how hot and dry that's going to be. So it's almost a no-brainer of there's not really a decision there to be taken. We've just got to get on and get these things built.
Well, you're in the right place at the right time to talk to politicians, because there's more politicians here you can shake a stick at. I think I've seen just about all of them so far.
Oh, absolutely.
I saw
We're in a very
Nicola Willis this morning.
central location here at Fieldays going forward. So with regards to that, what will be your main focus for Fieldays, Stephen, in regards to getting your message out?
Yeah, so it's myself here as the board chair and Stephen McNally as our principal technical advisor whilst Karen is away. We're just trying to talk to people that have the influence and are going to make these decisions. And as an organisation for Irrigation New Zealand, we are politically agnostic. We really take a New Zealand view to what needs to happen. So we need to be talking with every party around making sure that what we're putting forward is fits with all of their views, so that we don't get flip-flops as we go through different political cycles. So,
do you think that the Greens particularly understand the level of scrutiny that is on the environmental management when you are farming under irrigation, particularly from a scheme? Do you think they realise the level of compliance that goes into farming under irrigation?
It's quite easy probably to take an ideological stance and get some sound bites out there and have some sort of pot shots, but the schemes that we're involved with and who we represent, they fundamentally care about the environment, and everybody is working really hard to make sure that it's not a win-lose situation. So there is a ton of work that is going in to make sure that when we talk about water resilience by being able to capture that water, we're doing so in an environmentally sustainable way. We're not trying to have it's not a choice of one or the other. We can have both if we do it really, really smartly. So that's our challenge.
Yeah. Well, I wish you all the very best with getting that underway. And this is the beauty of Fieldays. A lot of the reason for coming to Fieldays might not be selling your wares. It's actually the B2B conversations, isn't it, that happens here.
Absolutely.
And we've seen heaps of international delegates here as well. So it's a really exciting time to be in farming, in agriculture, and at National Fieldays. The vibe's never quite been anything quite like it. Andrew, thank you very much for joining us.
CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Lamp.